Gavin McInnes is going to introduce him. Gavin McInnes, please come to the stage. God bless you, brother. A real American patriot right here. Don't hold anything back. Can I get you a beer? You can put your beer right there. Get him a beer. You're going to introduce your guest?
Yes, I will.
You can use this if you want.
Okay.
I'll turn this way. That one you like, right?
I walked in here and I love Joe, bordering on gay. And I ran up to him and I went, "What's up, Dad?" Gave him a noogie. And he goes, "Get your hands off of me." And I go, "I thought we were bros." He goes, "I'm his twin brother, you idiot." Oops. Tommy's got a fascinating life. A year ago, he was in a cage, rotting, with charges mounted to the ceiling. There was very little hope for him. Everyone outside of his cell wanted to kill him. And if you got farther than his cell, you got to the prison guards that want him dead, the establishment that wants him dead. It was nothing but death outside. So his prison cell was the safest place to be. And, you know, that chips away at a man. No matter how strong you are, iron with enough drips starts to deteriorate. And cut to today, this man has a massive following. There's going to be a 3 million person riot in a few days. As soon as he got out, he did Unite the Kingdom and had the largest demonstration in the history of Britain. His documentary, Silence, is the most watched documentary. And we're going to hear about his life. It's a fascinating tale. But what he personifies to me and to most people who know him is, you got to get back up. You know, he's a human white pill. No matter how bad things are, if you just stick through it, if you do your time and you get out, you will have your own Unite the Kingdom. You will have your own revolution. And the Lord rewards those who persevere. And ladies and gentlemen, Tommy Robinson, the king of perseverance.
Thank you, guys.
These chairs don't show your gut. That's good.
I know, look, I feel small as always.
Welcome to America.
First of all, it's great to be here. I'm very blessed to be here. I never thought I'd get into the United States of America. Let me sit back. I've had a fabulous time so far for the last 6 weeks traveling around. And do you know what? I'm relaxed tonight because I'm with Gavin. So, you know...
Best guy ever.
Do you know why? Because if you say something wrong, Gavin's one of those people, if I go out with him, if I smash something, he'll smash more. If I say something wrong, he'll say something worse. So I could totally relax tonight. And it doesn't matter what I say or do, because Gavin will outdo me in it. So I'm blessed to be here. I've become good friends with Gavin. I watched Gavin for years. This warehouse is unbelievable, so I'm very grateful. Do you know, for me to come to America, to meet all the people I've watched for so many years, to see all the people they've tried to silence, and to see where they are. I've travelled around for the last 6 weeks meeting different characters who they've tried to break down, and all those characters are now up with huge platforms. I guess we're the same. We now have a larger voice than we've ever had. Everything they've done to attack us and silence us hasn't worked. We're in the build-up now. I wish I could enjoy it a bit more, because I've got, as Gavin just said, our next event is on the 16th of May. It's going to be the biggest event we've ever done. And there's a lot of things going wrong in the background, but we'll just keep a strong face and continue.
I don't know why you keep doing this to yourself.
No, Gavin, you said that, and I said the same. I looked at my son and said, why have I done it again? Why have I organised it again? Because anything that could go wrong, all the problems that come with it, but I think that the country needs it. I think that we needed it. Do you know, after the riots in London? So the riots happened in London. They were trying to pin the riots on me. It's a bit like January 6th. What they done with January 6th is they locked... I just met a lady here. I don't know where she is. I just met a lady who spent a year in... She spent a year in jail for January 6th. She was pardoned, yeah? Just a mother. taken off the streets and locked up. Now, the purpose of doing that to her and the purpose of doing it to us in the UK, to doing it to Lucy Connolly, who was a British mother who got 31 months in jail. The purpose of doing all these things was to put fear into you, whether it be the British audience or the American audience. You were supposed to be scared to protest again after January 6th.
Yeah.
You were supposed to be too fearful. Even if they rob your election, they wanted you to be too scared to come out on the streets. Now, that's what they done in the UK after the riots, which was why it was important for us to launch Unite the Kingdom and show the public you can still protest, we must still protest, and we'll do it in an organised way. And we learned from January 6th, and I learned from 15 years of organising demonstrations, they can only infiltrate if they can hide their identity. So we brought in a strict rule, no face coverings, we will remove your face coverings, and we've had 4 of the most successful demonstrations our country's seen. Our last one was millions on September 13th. The next one's May 16th, although there's a lot of anger brewing in Great Britain, so we're going to try and control it as best we can.
This might pop off.
This might pop off. We'll try and control it.
You know what was great about Unite the Kingdom? A lot of Americans, more than British people, think that Britain is far away and we're not that connected anymore. But Charlie Kirk had died that week, and there was a massive vigil that Friday night before the Unite the Right in the park that was right next to where you were doing your speeches from. And then at Unite the Right, there was a moment of silence. You guys played the American anthem. I might tear up here. And there was these huge pictures of Charlie Kirk on all the screens. People had made signs already because free speech unites the West. And I think Charlie Kirk is a sort of the ultimate free speech martyr. What are you texting?
No, I'm getting a song up ready to play now. I'm getting a song. It's about. Don't worry. It's about what you're talking about.
On stage with Gav. What
Gavin.
are you guys doing later?
I'm getting a song ready
There's
to play.
no bloody booze here. Where are you guys? It's probably going to be like another hour or something. Oi, don't know. What is your problem with the letter I, by the way? Oi.
Oi.
Oi was there. You sound like a Northern English farmer. I'm not serving you any more beers to get the bloody cows out.
I was getting, as you're talking about, I'll finish talking about Charlie Kirk because we played.
Dude, shut up!
We played a moment to Charlie Kirk.
You're at a thing, chatting away on your fucking phone. Just shut up! Holy shit!
Oh God, Kevin said it. I was getting this song up. This is for Charlie Kirk. So we've got a singer coming over from the United States. I don't know if you're going to hear this. I think it's beautiful. You're going to hear it? It's a bit slow.
And it's for
I don't have a song today. Can't seem to find the right words to say. I remember a time when freedom would reign. I'm talking to your neighbor to see.
Okay, I think we get it.
I'll get the chorus. It's Charlie Kirk died a martyr, not a name.
Now we lost the voice, the age, gunned down in a murderous rage. I don't want a civil war, no. Only God knows what's for, though.
Come on, get the chorus, Mike.
If you're gonna say his name,
You're gonna get kicked out if you keep ruining this.
Here we go.
Charlie Kirk died a martyr, not me.
Anyway, so
Security.
we've got that song being sung live at this event as a tribute to Charlie Kirk. I personally think there needs to be a worldwide Charlie Kirk Day, where every country celebrates freedom under the banner of Charlie Kirk.
Yeah.
Well,
when he was shot, part of me was like, okay, I'm not going to say the G-O-O-D word, but part of me was like, now people can finally realize that our enemies are not mad because we're too radical. The radical left is just like jihad. They hate us because we're infidels. And I remember when this shit was hitting the fan for me, my wife was like, can't you be more moderate? Can't you be like Tucker Carlson? This is when he was on Fox. He wasn't the Tucker of today. And then Antifa stormed his house, and his wife had to lock herself in the pantry. And I was screaming, it's not about being not moderate enough. They hate us all. They want us to die. And Charlie's proof of that. So if there's any good that comes from that death, it's that you can't negotiate with terrorists.
I think the numbers of university students joining up to Turning Point UK went through the roof, did it, afterwards? Which is a good sign of resistance, because you'd hope that people after that... I listened to what Charlie Kirk said in lots of interviews, and it was about not backing down in the face of all of this. So
Hold on, I got to record this with my meta glasses. Go ahead.
they're cool. You're recording me on your glasses, Gav?
Yeah.
That is so gay.
Wait, that's gay?
That is very gay. Look, I can see the little light on your glasses.
Delete that from the video.
But yeah, the Charlie Kirk. We're going to hold another beautiful symbol to Charlie Kirk in London on May 16th as well.
He's a hero. And so are you. The thing about your life is you and free speech are inseparable. And you started out with the English Defence League many years ago, and you said, there are grooming gangs here. I like you, I hate that word. There
Rape
are
jihad.
rape gangs. You don't groom, you groom a dog. You don't groom an 11-year-old girl. So there's rape gangs here to the tune of thousands of girls, and the state came at you with, they busted down your door, and you've since been to prisons. You've been to 10 different prisons. You've had 13 serious death threats, where, is it 13?
It's 13. So it's, in the UK, it's called Osmond. So it's where the police had intelligence someone was going to get killed and they didn't go and tell them. And then that person got shot dead. Right. So then they created a warning under his name called an Osmond warning, where if the police or the security services or the government have legitimate intelligence that someone's going to make an attempt on your life, they have to warn you so that you can then take precautions to leave, hide, whatever it is you want to do.
Well, you just go get your guns. So make sure you're...
No, Gav, no. Do you know, so 2 weeks before I come out here, and I see some people talking about this online. So ISIS have a magazine. Like, how ridiculous is that? But ISIS have a monthly publication. And in this month's publication, the police contacted me. In fact, they went to my child's house. It was like midnight. I was actually in the house. It was about midnight, and they gone banging at the door. And then the ex-wife's come in the room. She said, police are outside. So I said, I'm not here, yeah? She's gone out and said, he's not here, what do you want? We need to talk to him. I said, okay. I've booked a flight the next morning. So I think, I don't know what's going on here, but I'm getting out of here for now until I can find out what's going on. I get to the airport, mad story, I get to the airport and I'm sat in a restaurant in Luton Airport, and this Muslim girl who's serving me, young girl, about 18, 19, she said, do you mind if I chat to you? I'm finishing my shift. Do you mind if because I was sitting on my own. Do you mind if I sit down and chat to you? I said, no, not really.
Chat you? Like have a conversation?
Have a conversation.
Right.
Yeah, so I said, no, go on, why not? Sit down. And then she sat down, she started saying, like, do you hate me? Do you? And as I'm talking through her, she's from Luton, and I went through where she grew up, and she actually grew up in the area I'm from. And then she said, my dad, you might know my dad. I said, who's your dad? And she named her dad. I said, I know your dad really well. He's a Pakistani gangster. Like, I grew up with him. He was one of the main gang lads in their gang. And I said, I know him really well. She said, I don't really speak to him. He beat my mum up. I said, Islam. Every point she kept making, I was like, Islam. And as we're sat there, my solicitor rings. So there's a video online that people can watch, which is of the police giving me this warning. So I ring my solicitor. I answer to my solicitor, and she says, police are looking for you. I said, I know they're looking for me. They were at Jenna's house last night. She said, yeah, they really need to talk to you. I said, are they going to arrest me? I'm at the airport. I said, what's it about? She goes, no, they need to talk to you, Stephen. You need to ring them. I said, about what? She said, about a warning, there's a threat on your life. So I said, okay. So then I'm sitting with this Muslim girl, yeah, whose dad I know. I told her to go home and make up with your dad, because don't talk to her dad. But I said, will you record this conversation? She said, what is it? I said, I'm not too sure. So that phone call that people hear, which I released online, is recorded by this young Muslim girl who's 18, lovely girl she was, yeah, struggling in life. She was going through her own problems. She had her own, but she recorded that conversation. And as I'm sitting on the phone, the police like, Stephen, we have intelligence. We don't have intelligence. You're named. There's a picture of you on the front of this month's terrorist manual from ISIS. And the girl's like, she's just looking at me like, what the fuck is going on? I said, yeah, welcome to my life. But this is what the police say, which they say in each time. which I went over on the phone with them. I said, okay, so you have intelligence that I'm named by ISIS to be killed. Can I just ask you, how many ISIS fighters have been allowed back into Britain after going to fight for ISIS? 2,000 have. Yeah?
2,000?
2,000 have come back. Yeah, 4 times as many British Muslims went to fight for ISIS and never joined the British military.
It should only be a few hundred.
Yeah, only a few. But 2,000, they're the ones they know about. But 2,000, and many of them are in Luton, my hometown.
Yeah.
So I said, right. So they've gone to fight for ISIS. They're swore allegiance to ISIS. They're trained. They've had weapons training. They're back. You're telling me that I'm to be killed at all cost. Right. What am I allowed to do to protect myself? Protect yourself. You're not allowed to do anything. If you go and get a weapon, you'll be prosecuted. And they actually give you this in black and white writing each time. Each time they give you a bit of paper. Do you remember Al-Shabaab? Al-Shabaab.
Yep.
Al-Kebab. Al-Shabaab, after the Kenyan shopping mall massacre, and I've got a video of this because I was digging through all our old footage for 2 years, from 2013 2012, 2014. I had a young cameraman who filmed everything for 2 years. We've never used any of it. It's some unbelievable footage, yeah? So I've gone back, going through this old footage. Now, at 3 o'clock in the morning, police come to the house. This is at our old house. They come to the house and said, right, you've been named by Al-Shabaab. And this was after they'd done the Kenyan shopping mall massacre. And in the bit of paper they give you, which their advice is leave. We cannot protect you. We can't protect you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Our advice to you is to leave, basically flee, go into hiding. And you're not allowed to get a weapon. If you do get a weapon, you'll be prosecuted. So literally, we're disarmed. The terrorists are armed. They're allowed to come back after fighting for terrorist organisations. And then it's us who are now targets. And I get a lot of this. Probably like us giving the location for here. People are like, well, oh yeah, why are you giving the location? So because I can't just live the rest of my life hiding over a few
It
standards.
seems like you've run out of adrenaline. I see this with cops sometimes, where they've been in so many dangerous situations, they're not scared anymore. I think that's why cops retire after 20 years, because they start getting reckless because they don't care anymore. And you seem to have run out of fear juice.
Yeah, I'm past caring. And I know my little boy's over there, but he says sometimes, Dad, what about that? I'm past caring.
Well, they win, I guess, if you live in fear. So
yeah.
You've been to 10 prisons, been arrested a million times. You're the only guy I've ever heard of in the world history who's done 2 prison sentences for the same crime. And you know how with Trump...
And there was no crime.
And it wasn't a crime.
For the same crime, that there was no crime.
It was contempt of court. It's like telling the judge to fuck off or something.
It's contempt, which is meant to be a civil offence.
Right. So and when you look, the left likes to go, oh, he's a seasoned criminal. Just like with Trump, they go, he's a 34-count felon. And when you hear that, you go, oh, that's rape, arson, murder, petite larceny. And then you realize it's all the same bullshit charge. Your charges are like broke a hotel door, got in a fight one night 30 years ago, 2 contempt of courts for the same thing, releasing a documentary. Yep. What's prison like for someone like you in a Muslim country?
So prison's been, I've had different experiences in jail. From my first experience when I was 20, which do you know, sometimes I hated the police for 20 years. I was an aircraft engineer. I left school and I qualified as an aeronautical engineer. When I was growing up, all my friends were in trouble and I stayed out of trouble. Yeah, all my friends were getting in all sorts of chaos. I stayed out of trouble, but they were all still my friends.
I'm sorry, weren't you like the top soccer hooligan?
Yeah, that I don't class that as trouble. I'm on about criminal trouble, yeah? Oh. That's a fight of football. But I was staying out of trouble, and then I was 20 years old. I'd studied for 4 years. I'd been an apprentice. I'd qualified, and I had an argument with an off-duty police officer. And
He wasn't in uniform.
No, he wasn't in uniform. I was arguing with my fiancée at the time. It was 3 o'clock in the morning. I never looked at what I'd done wrong, so I always hated them and blamed them. And it was 3 o'clock in the morning. We were arguing. He come out, turned up in a pair of shorts, said, right, you go that way. I'm going to walk her home that way, which was my ex-wife, which was to her mother's house. I said, no, you're not. In the court papers, which he admitted, he believed I was going to assault someone, yeah? He believed that, right? I wasn't. I didn't. So he rugby tackled me to the floor. Now, once he rugby tackled me to the floor, that's assaulting me. I didn't assault him. He attacked me, so I beat him up. Yeah, and I thought that was normal anyway. Like if you attack someone, you get beat up. And then I got a 12-month prison sentence for that, for my first offence. and I left prison and I'd lost my career.
But you weren't known as Tommy Robinson back then.
No, I wasn't known as anyone. No, I was just a young lad.
I've seen you in a few fights. What is the secret to knocking out someone so quickly? Is it you get them on the button?
I don't know.
You go for the bottom of the chin, it seems?
Just little man syndrome kicks in. I suffer from LMS.
But like most people go to prison, they sit in a cage and they get to walk around and stuff, and it sucks, obviously.
Well, I had a good time when I went to jail then. Like when I was not, I was 20.
You weren't Tommy Robinson.
I wasn't Tommy Robinson.
Yeah.
So I went to jail. I was surrounded by a male environment, all having a laugh. I made some great friends. I did. I'm just telling you, I'd made some great friends. I had a cushy prison sentence, but I come out of jail and I'd lost everything. I'd lost everything, my whole career. I'd worked for 4 years. I had nothing then. But when I was doing my apprentice, I was doing my apprenticeship for Britannia Airways, and I used to finish on a Friday at 3:30. I'd get picked up by some Irish developers, and I'd get taken to London, which is about an hour and a half, and I'd do a night shift in Merrill Lynch, the City Bank. We'd fix the ceilings, and I'd done that every single Friday for 2 years, and it doubled my apprenticeship wage. So I used to work a ghost shift. I'd finish at 3:30 and I'd work all through the night. And the Irish developer I worked for, when I come out of jail, I rang him. I said, I've got nothing. I've got no job. Yeah, I've lost my whole career, and I had a good career. Yeah, so I've lost my whole career. He said, I can only bring you on labouring. So I said, I'll come labouring, and I started labouring for him. And then when I was labouring for him, his plumber was emigrating to Australia in 6 months. So I said, who's doing your... And he was a big developer, this Irish gentleman. And I'm still friends with him now. He was a big developer. I said, who's doing your plumbing contracts when he goes to Australia? He said, I don't know yet. I said, give me your plumbing contracts. He said, what do you know about plumbing? I said, I don't know anything, but I'll know everything in 6 months. Give me your plumbing contracts. So he agreed to give me an opportunity to price his plumbing contracts, and then I set up a plumbing business, and I was on my way. And that's how, when I started my activism come 2009, I was in jail in 2004. By the time 2009 come, I had 2 successful companies, 7 properties. I turned my life around from coming out of prison. I had a mad year when I come out of jail, but I turned my life around. But going to jail then, to going to jail years later when I was put in prison as Tommy Robinson.
Well, wait, there's a missing piece here. So you were a violent soccer hooligan, and Luton Football Club, they're known as one of the most violent football clubs around.
I don't see, so this is going to an American audience, this sounds stupid, yeah?
Imagine you're a Mets fan, and you travel to Queens to fight Yankees fans. And there's a whole, like, Roman phalanx and structure where you go outside. There's deputies, there's lieutenants, it's a Roman war structure for Mets fans to beat the living shit out of Yankees fans. Let's go Mets!
Okay, so you don't think it's stupid, yeah? But
well, no, that's a ridiculous scenario I just described.
I'd explain it as probably I found my identity going to football. So as a young man, you have to understand that as a young man in Luton, white English were a minority. We were taught to believe everything was bad about us. The emblem of our country was banned in school. Every culture and every identity.
The English flag was banned in school.
When it was St George's Day, they sent letters out, do not bring in the flag of St George, you'll be suspended. So all of these messages that are coming to you, it makes you feel ashamed, or meant to make you feel ashamed of who you are. But on a Saturday, we could bring 150, 200 men, all English men, who are all coming together for a common purpose. We go and travel the country together and we fight together. Now, you don't fight people that don't want to fight. It's not like you don't just turn up and start attacking people.
Right.
In a football culture, everyone wears a certain clothes, so you know who you're going to fight. When you turn up, the men are from the same culture and same background as you. If I was from Millwall, I'd be one of their lads, and if one of them was from Luton, they'd be one of our lads. But you turn up, you don't beat each other up with weapons. You just have a fight about who's the best football group. And I guess my thing, which my mum still moans about now, my mum's brothers were lead members of our football hooligan group. So as I was growing up as a youngster, all I listened to every Saturday, whenever I saw my uncles, I'd listen to who they had a fight with at football. And I grew up aspiring, thinking this was great. Yeah,
it is.
You
were correct.
But I'll be honest, I miss it.
Yeah.
I miss it. I miss turning around the corner with 50 of your friends, and at the other end of the road is another 50 men, and you run and you hit in the middle, and everyone has a punch up. We went to Bristol. We went to Bristol City, and they called us the Suicide 11. We were young. We were 16, 17 years old, 18 years old. We went to Bristol City. We'd gone into the city. We went then to Bath, and their hooligans had rung our older hooligans, because you have the youngsters, which was at the time we were the youth, and you have the elders. Now the Bristol City hooligans had rang the elders and said, we're here, which was, they named an estate called St Paul's, which is the roughest estate in Bristol. Now the elders were having a beer in Bath. We were young. We said, we've come here to fight them. That's why we're here. Where are they? So 11 of us went back into Bristol. And as we walked, we went out into a pub, and we thought they were in the pub. They weren't in the pub. And as we're turning over a bridge, all you heard was CSF. That's their hooligan gang. CSF, CSF.
And you guys were MIGs?
We were MIGs. So
Men in gear.
Men in gear. And as we come over the bridge, 50 of them are there, and we got absolutely bad. But and I can still see my friend Fashion. They were jumping on his head. We ended up running, and then when we've rang his phone, they all sound like farmers down there, down in Bristol. And then we rang his phone, and they said, "You mad little bastards, what are you doing?" And then we said, "Where's our mate?" They said, "We've got him here. We took him to the pub. He's having a beer." And then they dropped him off to meet us. And they were just like, "You lunatics, like what you're doing." But I used to thrive off football. But now I'm a 43-year-old father of three. I wouldn't want my son doing it. I think it sounds pretty ridiculous. But at the time, as a young man, I was full of adrenaline. As many young men are.
Are you still a MIG? Are you still fighting with these guys?
No, I don't go.
Yeah, of course, you're lying. I don't believe you.
No, I take my children to football. That's, yeah.
Your eyes left me, by the way.
No,
because like, no, don't do it no more.
I don't. But the football, so people understand that, I'd say the football culture is the last line of resistance in the UK. It's like they're the men that will stand up and fight.
Well, that's a perfect segue to what I was going to say next, which is, so you said, I've had enough of these grooming gangs. They're raping our daughters. It's the elephant in the room. Everyone knows it. The media ignores it. The elites promote it. The elites are doing it, in a sense. They want the votes, but they may also be involved. And so you say, I'm going to bring this up. Let's have a rally. But because of the yabo hooligan background, when you get guys together, you get an army.
So my first demonstration was in 2004. I called it Ban the Loot and Taliban. And it was our young football hooligans. And we got 200 men. And we went to the town centre. And it was Al Mujahideen, who are a terrorist organisation. They had a stall every Saturday in our town centre where they were openly recruiting to send people to fight against British armed forces in Iraq and Afghanistan at the time. And I remember looking at it thinking, how are these lot doing this? And I went down there the Saturday before and the police were there. I said, what is going on here? How are these men openly doing this? And she said, it's free speech. So I said, well, let's see if it's free speech next Saturday. And then I went round the town and got all the lads, which we were young lads, and got the men together and said, like, why are we fighting Millwall on Saturday?
You were about 20 at the time.
I was about 20, and we contacted Peterborough. We had Peterborough. We were playing, Luton were playing Peterborough, which is another club which is about an hour away. And I contacted their football group and said, we don't want to fight you on Saturday. Right, the terrorists are in our town centre. We're coming into town centre for the terrorists. We're not coming looking for you. And then on that Saturday, we went into town, and the terrorists didn't show up for the first Saturday ever. So they weren't there. Now but the problem I had is I didn't do it as Tommy Robinson. I'd done it as Stephen Yaxley Lennon.
Don't say the real name.
Yeah, shh. And I faced a full-on attack. After that, every Pakistani gang in town, everyone wanted me. I was the most wanted man in town because I made leaflets prior to this, and I blitzed the whole town. And the leaflet ended up on the front page of the local newspaper. And the leaflet named their gang. Their gang is called the Gambinos. That girl I was talking about earlier, her dad was one of their gang. Their gang's called the Gambinos. And in the leaflet, I said that heroin dealing Muslim gangs are using
Muslim gangs.
Yeah, they're using heroin as a weapon to get our young daughters hooked on drugs so they can pimp them to paedophilic gangs. Now, this was 2004. This is what everyone now knows as grooming. And in the leaflet, I said, if I know what businesses they're using, we know as football lads, we know what companies use it, who's active doing it. How is no one doing anything about this? And because the gang's name ended up in the paper, and I linked them to terrorist groups in the article as well, that basically the leaflet was taken and put on the front page of the Luton News, my local newspaper. But all the Pakistani gangs after that wanted my blood.
It's such a weird, like, I understand starting a gang. It's hard to make money. I'm going to sell cocaine. I'll do a lot better. I understand if you're a violent person, you want to stab your rivals. And I understand all the drug war stuff. But you're starting a gang, and then one guy goes, what about if we also fuck 11-year-olds? I would go, no, let's not do that. Yeah, what if we get 11-year-old, 12-year-old girls hooked on heroin and slowly manipulate them until we can fuck thousands? And if we vote the equivalent of Democrat, they'll let us do it. I don't understand how that thrived. I guess it's Muslim inbreeding.
Well, it's what's acceptable to them. You can't think in the way you think. You have to think in the way they think. So when you see an 11-year-old girl walking down the street, you see a vulnerable child that needs protection. They see a target. That's it. They see a target that deserves to be punished. Because of their views on women, their views on non-Muslim women. And I know some people, when we started the English Defence League, we take a lot of rap and people talk about our poor behaviour at times, or you was a football hooligan, yeah? Well, if I wasn't and didn't have that upbringing of fighting growing up, I'd have run away after the first punch in the nose. Yeah?
Right.
It's the reason I haven't run away. It's the reason that I've continued to stand up. It's because I've been used to an upbringing of violence and facing violence in my hometown of Luton. So, but with regards to the Islamic gangs, what we found, fast forward 5 years, we get to 2009, that's when we set up the English Defence League. And it was after they attacked the soldiers in our hometown. So we're in Luton, 5 years on. By this point, I've got a successful company, yeah? I'm doing well, I've got children, I've moved out of Luton with my family. And that same group that we'd opposed 5 years earlier, the same terrorist group, remember, we know they are. Kids I went to school with are part of that group. We know them, yeah? We've had wars with them growing up. So we've had that.
Who would not turn the ringer off?
So I don't think she can hear it.
Oh.
So that same group is then doing that in 2009. And then we had a meeting afterwards, and the police turned on us that day. I was there that day. The police turned on us, and afterwards we had a meeting with some of the lads and said, we've got to do something. Like, we don't have a choice here, yeah? Because if they've done that, they attacked the soldiers and they spat in the soldiers' mums' faces. They spat in. Scott Muntridge was 26 from our estate. He died in that regiment. Michael Swain was 19. He lost his legs. And they absolutely took liberties. And every time you hear Luton, which is our town, we're passionate about. I think I'm quite tribal. I'm passionate about my school. I was passionate about my estate. Passionate about my town. Passionate about my country. I feel an allegiance to whatever it is that I'm linked to, and I want to fight for it. So each time they've done that to Luton, I thought every time you hear our town's name, it's to do with these jihadists and these scumbags who don't represent our town.
Muslims are like 60% of your town now.
They are now, yeah.
We went to a football match, which is a different sport there. It's soccer. I don't know if you guys know that.
The real.
So we went to a soccer party, and they get real mad when you call it soccer, by the way. I don't know why. But we were watching the soccer game. I'm just twisting the knife now. And I love soccer as much as the next guy, but you're a huge soccer guy. And so we're at your soccer party, and and you showed me the audience. You said, this is all Luton people. They're all white, by the way. And not one of these people live in Luton. And no one from Luton who lives in Luton was at the Luton football match, because they're all Muslims. They don't give a fuck about
Everyone in my generation from Luton has left Luton.
I will say one thing that was trippy. The goalkeeper at the end of the match took his gloves off, walked over to Tommy's son, and like a knight, presented his gloves to Tommy's son, who was probably like 10 at the time. Amazing.
Yeah, my son loved it. You probably don't remember it, do you? But yeah,
But there's two things going on here too. There's class. So the EDL, the soccer hooligans, they're seen as lower class. The elites, I think I blame Tony Blair for this, but he came with a stupid idea of importing hordes of I think they imported lots of Indians and it didn't go so bad. So they thought, well, let's do it again, but with Pakistan. But they don't realize that Muslims, when they get over 10%, you get violence, you get rape.
Over 2%. 1%.
And instead of going, oops, we made a mistake, let's just keep hiding their bad behavior and we'll still get the votes. So when you exposed it 15 years ago, it wasn't just anyone exposing it. There wasn't some posh, journalist at the Daily Record. It was a working class guy, and those are their two biggest fears: the working class and the Muslims we accidentally let in to get votes.
And we didn't plan it, remember? So I've gone from, had that little demonstration 2004, 2009, we set up, after they protested against the soldiers, we sat down together, my cousin Kevin, and said, we have to do something here, yeah? We have to make a noise about this. So what are we going to do? Yeah. So we decided to set up a group called the United People of Luton, and I knew what the police would do. Yeah. So I hired a wedding photographer. You can watch these videos. They're on YouTube under Luton Protest. Yeah. The channel's called Luton Protest. Go on and watch them. They're called the United People of Luton. This is our first ever demonstrations. And I went, and I didn't know you were allowed to protest. I didn't know any of your rights. I didn't know there was left wing, right wing. I didn't care. I was just earning money, trying to make money as a working class lad. And we turned up, and when we turned up, I paid this wedding photographer, I remember it was £450. So I said, I want you to just come film everything for the day. Film everything, yeah? So as he's filming us, we've got stopped. The police have stopped us all, and they're coming from everywhere. And then they're taking our names. What's your name? Where do you live? Take your shoes off, searching us. And as they're doing that, I said, I watched them attack our soldiers on that morning, 3 weeks ago. You didn't ask them their names. You didn't put cameras in their faces. You didn't search them. So why are you searching us? Why do you think you're treating us like this? And what they did then, they set up they kettled us in. And all we wanted to do was get to the War Memorial. There was probably about 300 or 400 of us, yeah? But there was women, there was a community. It wasn't all football hooligans. And then they kettled everyone in. And they didn't let anyone leave for 3 or 4 hours. My auntie had to urinate in the street. And as this was going on again, I was like, they wouldn't do this to them.
No.
Muslim women would not have to piss and urinate in the street. Yeah, they would not treat them like this, and so then off that, and then they smashed my mates. He was a black lad. They knocked his teeth out as they come past on a horse. All this is on video, and the horse comes in, he whacks him, and the police were all aggressive. They drew their batons on us, and then we've gone there, and after that day, it's gone from hold on a minute. You actually think you can treat us like this and it become more not about what the Muslims have done. It become about our local police think they can do this to us in our town. So that started, and then a week after that, there's 2 bank holidays in May. So this was on the Sunday bank holiday in May. And
wait, I got to interrupt you. We have an important award I got to give you in 1 minute. I'm going to go get it, but finish that story. I'll be right back with the award.
Go on. Chuck out talking, you go. Yeah. Okay. What's he up to, eh? What's okay? Okay. Well, so there was St George's Day on the 23rd of April. They've attacked our soldiers. You can check the date of that. I think it's mid-April. Then St George's Day is 23rd of April, when we all come out in our town centre to celebrate being English. They banned St George's Day. So when they banned St George's Day, I then organised in the first May bank holiday, we're coming into town, we're protesting. So we then protest the first May bank holiday. The police shut it down, attack everyone. And then after that, they raided 13 houses. One of them was my mum's house. They picked everyone who was influential and kicked their doors off. And when they come in the build-up to this, I'd set up a petition demanding that the terrorist group were banned from our town. So I tried to present, we got 3,500 signatures. No one would meet us. The council wouldn't meet us. The police wouldn't meet us. So we were trying to hand in this petition to ban the terrorists. They kicked off 13 addresses. One of them was my mum's. I wasn't there. And everyone they arrested, they get bail conditions not to enter the town centre 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for 3 months. So we sat there and thought, so rather than ban the terrorists, they've attacked our soldiers. The police have attacked us. We want them banned. You're banned us. You've now banned us. Yeah. So the next demonstration, which is when it got heated, I rang the police before, about 500 lads, and at this time I went to every estate. Like in Luton, we have rival areas. No one likes each other, yeah? Luton's a rough town. But this estate hates that estate, estate hates that estate. And I went to all the estates, and I went to all the English lads and said, lads, on Saturday, we need to come into town together. And there were people turning up who hate each other. But I said, on Saturday, we're all England, yeah? We have to do something here. And when we met up on that Saturday morning, because there was, remember, the police, I was wanted, yeah? I weren't meant to be in the town centre, but they hadn't arrested me yet. But the other lads weren't. I gave everyone balaclavas. So, and this is the imagery that went wrong. And we all had Luton Town football T-shirts that said, no surrender to Al-Qaeda, because we used to wear them everywhere anyway, yeah? We had a real fight against the terrorists for years. So when we turned up, about 500 lads turned up. And you can watch the video of this, because it's pretty electric. And I rang the police beforehand, anonymously, and said, I'm ringing up about the event that's going to happen on Saturday. If you don't let the men get to the War Memorial, I'm telling you, the town's going to burn. Yeah?
It's kind of what's happening on May 16th, 15 years later.
But we learned so much from these events.
Right.
Yeah? So from that, I said, look, lads, I'm telling you, I don't want to see the town burn. It's our town.
Yeah.
But people are going to go here. People aren't backing down here. And at that time, I remember we met up, and some of the main Pakistani gangster boys who I know. I remember Nasser, this lad. He rang me up. He goes, "Actually, bro," he said, "man, you're messing with you're not messing with the Gambinos. Is the gang? You're messing with the terrorists here." Yeah. I said, "Fuck off, tell them there's 500 of us." Yeah, because there was 500 of us. I said, I felt so confident. I thought there's 500 English lads and we don't care. Yeah. And at this time, so we've marched into town, and you can watch the videos. These videos, and again, I paid this wedding photographer. So the wedding photographer's turned up in the morning. Is when he sees 500 men with balaclavas on, he's like, "What the hell is going on?" I said, "We're hitting that town, yeah, and no one is stopping us getting to that war memorial." And we literally charged through the town. And we got to the war memorial. The police tried to stop it. You can watch the videos. Yeah? Everyone just charged through them. We get to the war memorial. We hold a minute silence. We say, "Hey, we're having a minute silence in respect of our armed forces. We respect our armed forces." You could have lit a match, thrown it in the air, and the town was ready to blow up.
Right.
Because we were outraged. And this was 15 years, 20 years of all of this. And at this time, it's like, no, now's when we fight back. So we're now ready to fight back. Yeah. And then in that 3 months afterwards, there were 26 fire bombings. My house got blown up. Cars were getting blown up. Mosques were getting blown up. Luton was going off. Luton was kicking off, and from the police being forced to attack us in the first one, the Luton police, we got told of the 60 Luton police officers went in, and they had British police support British Armed Forces badges, and they told them to remove them. This is afterwards, because Luton police were furious as well. And they said they need to remove their badges, and they'd done a walkout. All the officers said we're not, and they walked out. Yeah.
Great.
So all this is going on inside the police station, these arguments. We're going on the streets outside. The whole of Luton's ready to... Luton police, we're seeing them at the football saying, "Lads, we agree with you." We said, "Will you stop crushing us? Stop crushing us and letting them do this." And even say the football hooligans, you may see in my Oxford Union presentation, some of you may have watched it, there's 200 attacks against non-Muslim homes. Our football hooligan police officer at the time, non-Muslims' houses and old people were getting attacked by Muslim gangs where they're driving them out of the Muslim area. Do you know what the advice was? Our football hooligan officer, we have an officer who dealt with the football hooligans, he pulled us at a game, he said, "Get 200 men down there. The only way you're going to solve it."
Oh, wow.
That's the officer. That's the police.
Yeah.
If you want them to stop it, get 200 men and get yourself in there. Yeah. That's the problem. The only language the authorities understand, and I learnt this with the English Defence League. Yeah. So we went from a group of Luton men, 2009. We tackled the groups. We we basically, because I saw all the government talking about the tactics of the English Defence League. For the tactics, we just I just went on the terrorist group's website. They had their own website. They had a thing called the Islamic Roadshow, and we followed them. We went in the back of a lorry and jumped out on them in Wood Green. Then we followed them to Birmingham.
And you'd fight them?
We'd disrupt what they were doing. Whether they hold seminars in hotels, we'd turn up 30, 40 men. And that's how it started. But when we went on we left, we were the United People of Luton. We then changed our name to the English Defence League. We went to our first event, and our first event was in Birmingham. And that same group that had attacked our troops held an Islamic roadshow in Birmingham. So I'm sat there following them and watching what they're doing online. And a young boy called Sean, who was 11, was shopping in the town centre. And there's hundreds of Muslims. And I used a video of this. You can watch this online. They get this young boy on stage and they make him repeat after me. And they convert him to Islam, yeah?
Oh, I've seen that.
And they're all
It's
screaming,
disgusting.
Allah Akbar. He's 11, yeah?
Ugh.
And I remember watching it thinking, well, they can't do that. You can't do that in Luton. You're not converting 11-year-old kids in Birmingham, not without a reaction. So then I said, right, we're going to Birmingham, lads. And I said to all the Luton lads, we're going up to Birmingham. We're going to do, the next time they're there, we're coming. Yeah. So we looked and we went, it was a stupid move because Birmingham's one of the most densely populated Muslim areas. We went there in a bus with 50 lads. The bus had no windows left. The police ended up locking us in a pub for 3 hours because they couldn't get us out of there. When they got us on the bus...
What a nightmare that must have been to be locked in a pub.
It was chaos.
I couldn't imagine.
But do you know what?
What could you do?
Do you know what come from that? Do you know what? I'll be honest.
Yes, I do know what came from that.
As young men...
Wetting yourself.
As young
and
men...
a hangover.
At the time, it was a chaotic adrenaline rush. We were going into the enemy's backyard, i.e. the Muslim gangs. They were smashing all the windows in. But then from that, English men got battered and again, the images ended up all over the newspapers. Now, only 50 of us went there, and hundreds, if not thousands, of Muslims come out attacking us, yeah? And there was I remember a picture of a young English lad at a bus stop. He had a green jacket on, and he was on the floor, unconscious, and there was about 6 Pakistanis jumping on his head. And the image it was in the Daily Mail, and the image read, "A fascist is attacked by anti-fascists."
Wow.
And I remember reading it thinking,
wow.
This was at the start of my learning of the media and all these things. But we went from that demonstration, we got battered, the images went everywhere. Now, what I did is I made videos and I went on football hooligan message boards. So after Luton, after we done our event in Luton, there's 500 men screaming, "We are Luton Town," outside our town centre, singing, "We are Luton Town," and "No surrender to the Taliban, we want our country back." That song that you hear now started in Luton in 2009 at our first event, where everyone's chanting, "We want our country back." And I took the videos and I went on the football messaging boards for other clubs. And I said, "Luton stood up today, what are you going to do? Luton stood up, where are you? Where are you? Where are you?" We went from being beaten up in Birmingham, we then watched online as Muslims bulldoze Christian graves in the city of Manchester and in Longsight. So I said, right, we're going to Manchester, yeah? We announced that, and we're only a little group with a Facebook page that said Luton are now turning up in Manchester against what they've just done to the Christian graves. And when we turned up, remember, we've gone from 50, 2,000 young English men turned up. All of them like that. And I remember going, this is the birth of the English Defence League. I remember standing there going, what do we do now? Like, now we've got, and then we went from that, we went to Stoke, 4,000 men turned up, we went to the next one, and literally, I remember watching the police on TV saying, we don't know what to do, they're coming from everywhere. Yeah?
Well, how many was United Kingdom? It was like 3 million, wasn't it?
United Kingdom was 3 million. So all these, I learned a lot doing the English Defence League. I learned we were young, we were angry, we had to, the tactics we used and the, whether you call it aggressiveness, was needed at that time.
Yeah, that's what I want to get to. So they hear about this aggression, they hear about this anger, and they go, you're just a bunch of racists that hate Pakis or something. I think this is going to be a huge bummer. So if you're eating, I would wrap it up and put it away. But let's see how much we can handle of what these grooming gangs are up to and what they've done to girls. I didn't want to cover this because we're sort of meant to be entertaining people, but it's important that people know that you're just not randomly mad at disco. This isn't a disco sucks movement. This is a brutal, unimaginable rape of children sucks movement.
So for me growing up, I had a cousin who was victims of these gangs. She woke up 13, 14 years old in a house, naked, getting raped by bearded men. Yeah? She ran out of the house, the prostitutes on the street phoned her dad. Her dad picked her up. The family would ring the police done nothing. In the end, that girl, Jeanette, would end up climbing out the window to go back to them to get the heroin. Yeah?
Oh my God.
But she was a child. Yeah? So the police...
How old?
14, 13. So the police would just say, she's a drug addict. It's like, she's not a drug addict, she's a child who they've hooked on drugs. And then they've got her, yeah? They've took her. But do you know how many girls I knew? Like, another example, there was a beautiful girl, I mean beautiful, this girl. And she used to go out with my friend Mike. And Mike's known for punching people, yeah? His name's Big Mike, sorry Mike. But Mike likes a fight, yeah? And her parents didn't like Mike, because Mike's in our circle of friends who used to go out and get in a few punch-ups and go to football. She didn't like Mike. She always thought her daughter was too good for Mike. And then I heard through the grapevine that Caroline had been picked up by these men. Like, what it starts with a young man in a nice car who might be 18 or 19, picking up a 13-year-old girl, driving her around, showing her a nice time, spending money on her. She thinks it's exciting because she's with a group of men. And her friend, this girl's friend, I saw her friend a year later, and she said, have you heard about Caroline? I said, don't tell me. He picked her up, he treated her well, he took her away from all of you friends. He isolated her. Her only friends then are girls that are in the same situation who are going out with Pakistani boys who are older. He then started making her change what she wears. He then got her drinking. He isolated her. And now he's taken her from her mum and dad. She went, how the fuck do you know?
I guessed.
I said, it's exactly what they do.
But, and this is to the tune of thousands of times. But
I know thousands. I know so many. And that girl there that I'm talking about, she's gone now. She's gone. So I saw her mum. I saw her mum on a New Year's Eve. This when EDL's on, and her mum just went, how's Mike? which was my mate who used to punch people. I'm thinking, yeah, I bet you want to know how Mike is, because her mum didn't like. But then she just cried her eyes out. She said, they've took her. Like his family drove.
Let's hear the extent of the horror. Like branding woman, 11-year-old girl on her ass with an M for Muhammad.
There's a girl that was in Oxford. There was a girl who was. They got a hot iron rod and they heated it up with the letter M. And they scolded her bum because she was the property of Muhammad. They took another young girl and they nailed her tongue to the table. They took another young girl out to the woods and they poured... If you watch our documentary series, The Rape of Britain, we've done a 5-part episode. One of those girls they took up to the woods, and after making her give him a blowjob, they then urinate all over her. But some of the... Do you know what? One dad...
They poured gas all over her.
Poured gasoline over her with
lighters.
Yeah. And then they threatened the girls, the children, because they're only children, 11, 12, 13. They threaten them that they'll kill their mums and kill their dads. And most of these gangs are armed as well. Do you know one dad in Blackpool? I see a dad in Blackpool. So when I moved out of Luton with the English Defence League and started going to other towns and cities, it was a mass movement, and it went so quick, so fast, and it was exciting, and we were in towns and cities. I remember we set up divisions like you did with the Proud Boys, yeah? Go on, the Proud Boys.
Proud Boys representing here tonight.
But we set up divisions in different towns and cities, and I can remember there's a song, Alex and the Bandits, and we went to one of the first events, and we're in a pub, and we've got music going on, and then a lad come out with a balaclava and no t-shirt, which was pretty symbolic for the English Defence League at the time, yeah. And he just started playing a song, and it became the English Defence League anthem.
Nice.
And he had a balaclava on, and he's singing this song. At the time, it was just like, what is happening, yeah? What is happening? And we were going from different towns and cities, and at times it was described as a drinking club with a website. But it was about giving people the sense of identity. The reason they couldn't break the English Defence League was because of identity, yeah? Because it was a strong identity of who we were as a movement. And then when we went to different towns and cities, I was meeting families whose daughters were gone. Like literally sitting down with them. And I met a dad, and they took his daughter, and they'd phone him. This is a father and a son, Muslim, both raping his daughter, and they'd ring him so he could listen as they're raping his daughter. And do you know, he rang me. I remember after the English Defence League, I sat there, I kept in contact with him, but they took his daughter, she was gone. Because once a kid gets to 16, there's nothing the police can do. Once they're 16, there's nothing the police can do. That's no longer grooming, she's an adult. But they've got her, yeah? And he rang me like 3 or 4 years later. Tommy, she's home. So
she's
what?
home?
She's home. Mental.
Wow.
She came home with 2 kids. But she come home. But that's happening in every town and city. Men just losing their kids. And I remember, do you know the imams in Luton? When it was kicking off in Luton, the imams called a meeting with us. And I went to a meeting with their main imam. His name's Kadir Bask. He's basically the jihadi leader, yeah? And they called a meeting, and we went to a meeting in the town centre. And at this time, as I said, there was a lot of trouble going off in Luton. A lot of trouble. Luton's got a lot of lunatics from our community as well. And they said, we've all got to live in Luton. That's what this is, the religious leaders. I said, yeah, we know. And they said, well, we're going to make sure you can walk down the street. I said, I can walk down the street anyway, lads. I don't need your permission to walk down the street. And they said, well, but there's so much chaos going on, because I think their taxis were getting hit and all these different things were going on. And I said, do you understand about our daughters? And I was on about the girl, one girl. I give the instance of one girl. You've took her. You've took her from her family. A man and woman, mum and dad, have drove the boy with the daughter up to our community girl's house to tell her family that she can't see her mum and dad anymore. And then drove back. He goes, well, it's her choice if she wants to convert. Yeah. Well, it wouldn't be her choice if one of your daughters were taken. But we've become so weak, and there's no resistance to this across the country. The English Defence League then become a resistance. But you know, I learned in these quick years, I was invited when I set up the English Defence League by a Sikh group called Sula Punjab. SP, they're called. Now, in the 70s, the Sikh community, when this was happening to their daughters, every temple had to put forward volunteers as men. And they put forward men. And if it happens to a Sikh girl, 200, 300 men turn up, yeah? And there have been wars. Now, I remember I watched the most recent one in Leicester. A Sikh girl was raped. The Sikhs went in. They done a restaurant, 3 houses. They stabbed them. They chopped them to pieces, the rapists. They went in and obliterated them, yeah?
Great.
19 Sikhs went to jail. The police tried to play all this down. yeah, at the time. But when the Sikhs went to jail, the Sikh community in every temple do fundraisers, and everyone has to put money in to protect the men who just lost their careers, to defend the men who just protect their girls. But the Sikh community learnt this in the 70s. So when I set up, I went for a meeting with the Sikhs who told us how they fight it. They said, this is the only language these gangs understand. You have to fight them because the police are not going to help you here.
Yeah.
And this was the Sikhs giving me, and we formed a great relationship from that day in 2009. We still have a strong relationship with the Sikh community who, when there's been problems, for example, there's a Sikh summer school that was under attack, where all the kids on the estate are chanting EDL and they're smashing it up and they're calling them terrorists. So then I went down there I went down there to speak to the kids. And the kids are like, when I went down there, I said, what's going on with the Sikh school? They said, they're all fucking terrorists. I said, they're not terrorists. Do you know what I mean? They're not.
Muslims are terrorists.
Yeah.
Sikhs are, although it was a Sikh politician that made the Proud Boys a terrorist group in Canada.
He's a wanker
but
in
he's
Canada.
retarded.
Yeah,
so
he's
that's
a far
why
left.
he doesn't understand that Muslims killed 1 million Sikhs. So I asked you an hour ago what it was like for you in prison. I even had to go piss at one point, pretend I was giving you an award.
So in prison.
But let's talk about not Stephen Lennon in prison, but Tommy Robinson in prison.
Terrifying. Because
every time you tell me these stories, right before you're about to be killed, someone comes by and goes, Tommy, you're right. There's going to be something bad coming in the next hour. And this is going to sound ridiculous, but I feel like it's God sending you these little saviors to protect you because he knows what you're doing is right.
Okay, so I'll give you 1, 2, 3, 4 examples. 3 examples, different times. And for me, it's terrifying, no joke. Do you know me going to jail? It's like, I feel like I'm heading to a death sentence.
It is, yeah.
And in the build up to it, you come saw me in Spain? No,
Yeah.
I was all right. Before the most recent one, I pretty much reckon I had a breakdown. Well, I did have a breakdown. I absolutely was terrified because I don't know what I'm going to.
Well, you're a mortal man.
Yeah.
So when you get put in solitary confinement, when everyone in the prison is trying to kill you, and you're there for months and months and months in conditions that are worse than a dog. Dogs get to run around. We take dogs for a walk, and it's going to chip away at someone.
And all my sentences have been small. I face 10 years when I get back. You know, I'm on trial.
Now?
Yeah, now I face 10 years on October 26th. I'm
For
on trial.
what? The silenced thing?
No, October 26th. I'm on trial to do with Daily Mail journalist, and it carries a 10-year prison sentence. I'm on
And what's the
trial.
crime?
Causing fear of death to journalists.
Oh, that's the guy who doxed your home.
The ones who followed me on holiday, and then I turned the
and
camera
took
on.
pictures of your kids.
And I said, I'm going to ask them some questions. That's all I said.
And you said, what if I did that to you? And that's threatening.
Now I face criminal prosecution.
Wow.
I face trial on the 26th of October. But I got sent to jail. When was it? What was the first one? Peterborough, which is I get put in prison. I land in the reception of the jail, and you can watch this. This is on a documentary called 24 Hours in Police Custody. I get to the reception of the jail and I say, right, I was only doing a quick recall, which is like a few weeks in jail. I said, you know who I am? You know the problems I'm going to face here. I know the problems I'm going to face here. So I was sort of inviting them to just put me on solitary, yeah? But I didn't want, my pride doesn't let me ask, yeah?
Yeah.
I can't ask. So, and if you ask for protection in prison, you get put with the paedophiles, yeah? So when I get to jail, they say, you need protection. I said, no, I don't. And they said, you need to go on protection, you're going to get killed. I said, well, I'm not going on protection because I'll kill one of them, yeah?
Right.
So I've done nothing to warrant putting myself with paedophiles. I'm not in the wrong here. So then it hands it over to the prison. It's there for me. I think, well, it's your problem, not my problem. It's your problem. So I got there and I said, you know who I am? And do you know my instinct? So I always follow my instinct, but I was only doing a couple of weeks in jail. Now my instinct on the first day on this wing, as I walk in the prison, there were 4 Muslims in there who are local to me. They cut a man's nose and ears off. They got like 20. They got 20 odd years. But as I walked past one of them on the first day on the stairs, my instinct was saying, kick him in the head. Yeah? Because if I kicked him in the head, then instantly I have the fight and then I'm saved, really, because you're on solitary.
Right.
But then I thought, if I kick him in the head, I'm going to end up doing ages in here because I'm only doing a couple of weeks. I just want to get out of here. So I didn't go with my instinct. I've always gone with my instinct. So when my cell door opens, I come out of my cell. Because in prison, if you get caught in the cell, I'm dead. They're not going to fucking...
Well, they'll lock the door and then no one can get in to save you, right?
They'll stab the shit out of me. I'll be held in there. So The minute my door, I'm waiting every morning, and I lasted 3 days. Every morning when the door opens, boom, I'm straight out the door, back to the wall. And I'm just waiting anyway. So I'd go downstairs, so I'm safe, stand with the back to the wall, waiting for someone to start. And it was 3 days in, and you can watch this on the documentary, and the man, an English lad comes up, and he says, "You're about to get done with boiling water." Puts his hand over his mouth. I said, and in jail, you get boiling water, you put sugar in it, you throw it in someone's face, it takes your face off. Yeah,
Because it sticks.
It sticks.
You can't get it off.
So the boiling water sticks, and you'll have no face. And I like looking like this, yeah? So I'm standing there, and I says, "Who's going to do me?" And he says, like, say, cell 24. And I look over, and there's Somalians at the door. So I said, "All right, cool." And then he walks off. I just run and kick the shit out of him, yeah? I don't let him turn around. I just literally run over, I grab him, and this is all on CCTV because they played it on the 24 Hours in Police documentary. So I beat him up. Afterwards, I'm standing there like that, and in the interview, the imam's on the wing, yeah? Because they nicked me for a religiously motivated attack. But the prison didn't do anything. So the prison didn't charge me. I go on holiday. I get out of prison after 2 weeks. The prison put me down solitary confinement until I got out. So I spent 10 days down the block, which is solitary confinement. 10 days later, they opened the door, see you later. I went home, yeah? I went home, I took my kids straight on holiday. That's what I always do. Took my kids straight on holiday. I landed back, and I met a lad from QPR, a football lad from QPR. And when I met the lad from QPR...
What's QBR?
QPR, and this is a mad... QPR is like one of our rival football clubs. We hate them. Yeah?
We're supposed to know that?
No, Queen's Park Rangers.
Oh, one of them geezers from QBR.
Yeah. I met a lad from
I don't
QPR.
like them. They're worse than Millwall.
I met a lad from QPR, and it's called Queen's Park Rangers. And as I landed, I'm always looking, and I see the police. So I said, "Mate, will you mate?" And it's 1 a.m. I've got 3 little kids. I've got 5 suitcases. I said, "Will you and your family just make sure my wife gets home if they grab me?" And he said, "Yeah." I come up, boom, you're nicked. And they've got all the cameras. So it's on a documentary. You can watch it. They take the piss out of my height on the documentary. They say, "What is he, 5'2"? Fuck off, I'm 5'6". And my mum's 4'11", so I made it. Yeah.
So that guy who came by and went, "They're going to pour boiling water on you," that was like a guardian angel, and you've had
He saved me. I went to court. I got not guilty because once the court saw, I told them. You're allowed, under self-defence, you're allowed to act in self-defence if you believe you're going to come under attack. Of course I believed I was going to get attacked. I just got told I'm going to get attacked. What do you want me to wait for him to attack me? So of course I'm not going to wait. So I done what I needed to do. And then that was Peterborough Prison. Bedford Prison, which was probably my worst, but I'm not acting like I was shitting myself.
Well, they purposely put you in prisons with high Muslim populations because if they can't get you with lawfare, they'll kill you.
They put me in Wood Hill Prison, 2015, and look, my teeth look good, yeah, but they're fake. They're fake, yeah, because I lost the front 4 in Wood Hill Prison. I was in Wood Hill Prison, and my prison door opens, and there's 6 Muslims got caught with guns, bombs, and suicide vests, and they were on the way to kill us, and they got there 2 hours late. Yeah, it's like, have you seen the film 4 Lions?
Yeah.
They're such retards, man. So it's like they're so fucking stupid. But these Muslims have turned up. So we're in one city, and there's a video of them walking through where we were when no one's there 2 hours later. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they've obviously fucked up. I don't know what's happened. They've got there late. They've got their car boot is full of guns and bombs. And then they drive home with no car insurance. They get pulled over by the police. So in the UK, if you've got no car insurance, the police didn't search the car. The police just seized the car. So they take the car, these terrorists go home, yeah? And then 2 days later, the company who have seized the car open the boot and they find suicide vests addressed to me because I committed blasphemy, saying, "Tommy Robinson, you said this, you have to be killed." They found guns, bombs, everything, yeah? So the police had already come to see me and said, "There's a big news story coming. Some terrorists have been caught." So they were trying to locate you through your phone. So they were trying to get you through my phone, through someone working in the phone network to try and find out where I was. But that didn't work. Then they turned up to the demo, got there late. So I went to their court case. And it was mental, man. The court case is at the Old Bailey. So I'm at the Old Bailey, and they're getting tried for terrorism. And I'm trying to think, what can I say? When they get convicted, what can I say that isn't contempt of court? Now, as well as addressing me, they addressed the Queen. Yeah, they had a go at the Queen as well in their suicide note. Now, what's mad is they were going through everything on their phones. They were watching porn and that, yeah? So they were reading up the websites that they were watching, and they're all sitting there chuckling to each other. Because one of them, it's not very halal to be sitting looking up fucking non-Muslim porn, you little wrong'un. But as they get sentenced, we've got, they only let 2 of us into the courtroom. There's about 18 of them, all big bearded mullahs. And so we're on the back row, they're the rows in front. So as they got sentenced, I just went, God save the Queen! Like, yay! And then the whole court kicks off. They all turn around, we're kicking them out. And then it's all kicking off in the courtroom. All the police come trundling in. And I remember there was a journalist who said, look, I don't like Tommy Robinson, but it was quite a moment in court. It was quite a moment in court. So I'm laughing at these terrorists. 6 months later, I'm convicted under mortgage fraud, where I pled guilty under a plea deal to drop charges against my ex-wife for tax, my family members. I took a plea deal to cancel the family's cases. I'm transferred for a paper, like a mortgage fraud, where no one lost money, yeah?
Yeah, I looked into that. It was like your brother-in-law was getting a mortgage and you signed a paper that
I didn't sign any papers. So my brother-in-law earned 12.
Your brother-in-law paid the mortgage back in full.
My
It was
brother-
like the Trump thing.
It was
Everyone was paid back.
It was 6 years before, yeah? So when we set up the English Defence League, the authorities went back 6 years on every member of my family. They went through every single financial paperwork, everything. No, we didn't even know. They got warrants for my mum and dad's accounts, yeah? So, because they were so pissed off with what we started. So with regards to, so my brother-in-law bought a house, say in 2006. The house was 80,000. I lend him a 20,000 deposit, yeah, to buy his first house. On his mortgage forms, we used to have a thing called self-certification mortgages. So as long as you put down a 20% deposit, you can certify how much you earn without proof. So he said he earned 20,000. He gets a mortgage, buys a house, does it up, sells it a year later. So the mortgage company...
That's exactly what Trump was accused of. by the
Okay,
way.
so mortgage company paid back. 2 years later, they come and nick us all.
So I think everyone knows you're innocent on all your stupid charges. The terrorists that were there to kill you, that fucked up because they got the timing
I'm put in
wrong,
jail with them.
You're in jail with them, and I mean, it can't be a coincidence that they say, why don't we put Tommy Robinson in with the terrorists?
Why would I end up in a maximum security jail with
They
terrorists?
put him in the same wing that the terrorists who tried to kill him are in.
I saw them.
Out of all the prisoners
Yeah.
in Britain.
And you know, like, from my point, I was shitting myself, man. I was shitting myself. And I just said to you earlier, I landed on the first night centre. I'm in the maximum security jail. First Muslim I saw, I went up to him. He was from Leicester. I said, you know who I am? I said, do we have a problem? Because if we have a problem, I haven't got a problem. But if you want to have a problem, we can have a problem. Yeah. But I'd rather do it looking at each other rather than some cowardly bullshit. So he said, I ain't got a problem, bruv. I said, right, sound. Let me do what I got to do. And I was doing, what was I doing? I was doing 18 months in that sentence. And then I'm in my cell, and my cell door opens, and it's a paratrooper, British military ex-paratrooper prison officer, and he says, when they come to get you, do not leave this cell. Your life depends on it. I said, what do you mean? He said, don't leave the cell, son.
That's God sending a little guy over.
Mate, I'm thinking, fucking hell, man. And then my door opens 2 hours later, it's him and 2 prison officers. He said, you're going on A-wing. And because you start off on the first, when you go to jail, you start on the first night centre. You might spend 2 weeks there. That's your induction. You do all your induction, and then they bring you to a prison wing. There's all different prison wings. So this is in Woodhill Prison, maximum security prison, where I've just come out of recently. So they said, you're going on A-wing. And I was like, I ain't going anywhere. He said, are you refusing? It's the same officer. Are you refusing? I said, yeah, I'm refusing. He said, right, well, you're on disciplinary now. You'll have to go before the governor. Then they lock you up, and then they move you from the wing to the segregation unit, because you're now in trouble, yeah? Which keeps you safe, because then I'm not going on A-wing.
He saved your life.
He said to me, do you know what? And I named the bitch in my book, because he said, it's impossible to put you there without them knowing that you're going to get murdered, yeah? Now, on A-wing, where they were bringing me, is where the Muslims, who are doing 30 years, who I was laughing at in court 6 months earlier, they're all on A-wing. There's no cameras on the wing. So now there's cameras. Back then, there was no cameras on the wing. So I'd have got killed, yeah? I'd have got absolutely murdered.
It's demonic.
Yeah,
Sending a prisoner there because he's a threat to your political career to be murdered is demonic.
Well, and he said she'd have got done for corporal manslaughter, but for you'd be dead. And I was very grateful to him. But I then go to see my lawyers. So I go for a meeting with my lawyers, and there's a waiting room similar size to what we're sitting on now. And when I come back from the waiting room, and bearing in mind, look, I'm not a big fella, yeah? Everyone's
You're 5'2".
I'm blessed. My mum's 4'11". But everyone wants a piece of me. I'm the biggest target. I'm in jail, I'm shitting myself, man. I'm like, for fuck's... But I know that I have to react a certain way. I don't have a choice, yeah? So, and then we go into this waiting room, and I sit, and there's probably 10, this is the sad thing. There's probably 10 men in there, 3 Muslims. And I see the beards, as soon as I walked in, because they all have the big beards. And I see the beards, I didn't bother sitting down, because there's all seats, I just stood with my back to the wall, prison officer locked the door. As soon as the door was locked, bang, we're all fighting. And as we're fighting, that's where I lost my teeth. I got battered, yeah? And it probably was 60 seconds, but felt like 10 minutes.
Well, so that was an accident, you ended up in that room?
Well, the prison officers locked me in there, so they knew what they're doing.
Oh, okay.
But it was the Muslims, I could tell by the look on their faces, they didn't know I was coming in there.
It was kind of an accident.
If they knew, they'd have blades, weapons.
Right.
They looked like, oh my God, it's like handed on a plate, Tommy Robinson. And then it's kicked off. And I remember the Sun newspaper run a celebrationary story. The newspaper said Tommy gets done, because the news obviously hit the outside that I got beat up in jail. But I lost my teeth. And then I got transferred from there. But do you know what's the sad thing is? You know the little wanker that I'd pulled on the first... When I said to the bloke, if you've got a problem, we'll have a problem. If not, I don't want one. He's one of the ones attacking me. Always away with them. He's one of the ones attacking me. There was 3 of them attacking me. Then I get transferred from there, and I'm black and blue. And I land in Winchester Prison. And I go to Winchester Prison, which is... I had a good time in Winchester after this. But I land in Winchester Prison, and I'm looking, and then there's all Muslims there. And as I come out, I'm like, you? And I'm ready to bear with anyone. He goes, I'm a Christian, bruv, as I come out. And I'm waiting, I got locked up, and everyone's... Tommy Robinson's on the wing, Tommy Robinson's on the wing. And I'm shitting myself again, yeah? Because there's loads of Muslims there. I'll say loads. 100 prisoners on the wing, 10 Muslims on the wing. It don't take many of them, yeah? My cell door opens next morning. There's 5 men waiting. They said, Tommy, we've got your back. I was like, oh, thank fuck for the Isle of Wight. These lads are from they're from a little island called the Isle of Wight, a British island, yeah? And if any of them ever watched this, I've never felt so... Because I'd been on my own. I was always on my own. And I was like, right, now I'm not on my fucking own. Now let's see who's saying so. So then, and I had a good prison sentence. Madly, I had a kid, and this is a small world. I had 2 Afghani boys I went to school with who I was real friendly with growing up. Still have a lot of love for them. In fact, the most recent sentence I was on, one of them's doing 28. He's doing 28 years, Imran, and we spoke to each other through the Imam. My first week on the sentence, this time the Imam come to my cell. He said, Imran sends his love. I said, twin, like, 'cause he's identical twin. He said, yeah. I said, fucking hell, I'd spoke to him 3 years prior, but he's doing a 28-year sentence. But we grew up together. And so when I went in this time, the main Muslim on the wing said, twins speak very highly of you. I said, and we're miles away, we're 5 hours from Luton. I said, how do you know them? He goes, I work with them, because they're all drug dealers. He said, I work with them. I said, oh, right. And then I had a good prison sentence in Winchester.
What was the one where you walk in and you're looking up like a Clint Eastwood movie at all the prisoners and they're screaming at you?
Bedford Prison. So Bedford Prison's my local prison.
You enjoyed that particular...
No, I did. Well, look, I didn't enjoy... I enjoyed... I walked into prison, and again, I'm not going to pretend because I'm scared, yeah? I'm truthfully shitting myself. But I walked in, what was I doing? I was doing a 12 months, and I looked at the...
By the way, whoever's talking over there, I'm going to kill your entire fucking family. I'm going to start with your cousins and slowly work my way in, and you'll be the last to die.
I'm all right.
Sorry.
Yeah, so I walked in, and I looked at the prison officer on reception. I said, you got a brother called Mark. Bedford Jail's my local jail, yeah? So all the kids I grew up with will be in that jail. I looked and said, you got a brother called Mark? He said, yeah. I could just tell by looking at his face. I said, I'm mates with your brother. He goes, I know you are. I said, oh, right. I said, right.
This is a prison guard.
You're in with the receptionist prison guard. So I think I'm all right, yeah? So I said, right, where's all the Muslims? I said, which sentences? Because there was a big case, loads of Somalians in the town next to Luton. A couple of them got shot dead. There's a big case, and there was all riots in the Crown Court case. So I said, are the Somalian kids in here? Because you see, if someone's doing 2 years or 3 years, they might stab me, they might hurt you. If they're doing life, they're going to kill you. They're nothing to lose. So it's a whole different ball game. So we found out the Somalians are all on A wing. Most of the Muslims are on A wing. A wing's 300 prisoners. It's a big wing. There's little wings, B wing, C wing, D wing. Now, when you go to prison, you go to the induction wing, then you go on the wing. So I should be going the induction wing anyway, first, yeah? So I find out, I said, where's Jason? I started naming friends I grew up with who I know who are in the prison system. I said, where's he, where's he, where's he? Now, I found out that there were some lads I grew up with from my estate who were on B-Wing. So I said, right, get me on B-Wing, yeah? I'll be sound on B-Wing. He goes off to see the governor. He comes back down. You're going on A-Wing. You're going on A-Wing. I said, well, hold on. Haven't we just established all the Muslims are on A-Wing? So we've just established that's where they all are. And anyone I know is on B-Wing. How can I be going on A-Wing? How come I'm not going in the induction wing? He goes, go on the numbers then, which is the protection with the paedophiles. I said, I'm not going on the fucking numbers. I'm never going on numbers. He goes, you're going on A-Wing then, all cocky. Like, you're going on A-Wing then.
The Muslim wing.
The Muslim wing. I said, give me a pen and paper. So I thought, right, because if I get killed here, I at least want him to get done. Yeah. So I wrote 6 pages out. In the British prison system, if you're in one gang, if you've got one postcode and your gang is having a trouble with another postcode, you're not allowed to be put in the same...
Yeah, that's the same with America.
You can't go in the same location of prison.
Right.
Yeah? I'm Tommy Robinson. These are all Muslim gangs from my town. Yeah. They all know me. I've had trouble with them for 10 years. Yeah. You can't put me on the wing with them because it's obviously what's going to happen. So I filled it all out, thinking he can't do it now. I've wrote it out. He comes back out. You're going on A-Wing. I said, OK, I'll go on A-Wing. And as they've got 2 officers walking me onto A-Wing, and I just nudged him. I said, watch what I fucking do on here, brother. Just watch what I do on here. And as we've come on the wing, it's like, because in the prison wing, you have three floors, and everyone's out on the railings. Everyone just stands on the railings looking down. So I've come on, and it's literally like they're howling. Like, what the fuck, Tommy Robinson? I was like, fuck off. And then they've walked me up to my cell. It's 10 to 12. Lunch is at, say, 12. They put me in my cell. I went straight to the window. I was like, because everyone goes on about paedophile wings in jail. I was like, if your prophet was here, he'd be on the fucking paedophile wing. And then I'm screaming. I'm literally screaming. But I'm doing this as a self-defense mechanism.
Yes.
I know I have to kick this off and kick this off now, or I'm going to get killed. Yeah. So I can't wait. Yeah. And they're all shouting, "You're fucking dead." And I said, I've heard that for 5 years. I've had 2 black eyes, you shithouses, yeah? I'm 5'6", I walk everywhere, and I've had 2 black eyes. I've had 2 bad beatings, I should be dead, yeah? And I'm screaming it out the window. They're all screaming. Some black bloke, some black bloke said, who the fuck is this rascal? And I'm like, I'm on the wing, you wankers. I'm on A-wing. And I'm shouting what cell number I'm in. Cell doors open at 12 o'clock. The prison officers open it, where you go straight down into the canteen. I walk into the canteen and say, who's fucking Muslim? And a lad called Dion, who's from another estate, I know his brother. He's a little gangbanger. He's in for all shootings. I know him. He turns around. He said, no, actually, man, I'm Muslim. And then a white boy next to him says, I'm Muslim. Boom.
They were both lying.
No, they both converted. Everyone converts.
Yeah, for
everyone converts. But I didn't let go of him. I didn't let go of this lad. I'm punching and punching and punching. And it's all erupted in the canteen. And then all the screws are dragging me off. I remember the same screw that dragged me there. As they're dragging me off, I just looked up at him, laughing, thinking. And when they put and I've never had an adrenaline rush like it, where I was drenched from head to toe. They put me back in my cell, locked the door. I've gone to the window, and I'm like, ah!
Oh yeah.
I'm screaming. I said, I thought I was dead. I just banned him. And I'm screaming at the top of my head, saying, your mate just got fucked up. But that was the only way I survived, because the punishment for that is I'm then put on solitary confinement. Perfect. So I'm then taken down the block on solitary confinement. And I can remember, as I'm put in the cell, and as I'm put in the cell, there's another lad called Ryan, who's gone back to jail. I grew up with him. He's been put in the cell next to me. So you're looking through the little holes. And then the boy the white boy who I'd beat up, he gets put in the cell, yeah? Big beard. And then I heard, yo, Yaxley, no, I don't want no beef. And Yaxley's my name from growing up. And I thought, well, this is weird, because Muslims would want beef. I realised I fucking know him, yeah? He's from where I'm from. I know his dad. So he's converted in jail. It's only then I trigger who he is. I think, oh my God, you little wanker. But then from that, and then the priest started on me. The priest come in and said, you think you're clever, Tommy? You think you're clever, don't you? So what do you mean you think you're clever? He goes, I know exactly what you've done. I said, I've survived, mate. That's what I've done, is I've survived. You're not happy because I haven't got murdered in it. And at the time, I'm then pushing, in Bedford prison, and this is where the prison system has a problem, because I'm in Bedford prison, and the block and solitary confinement is under the jail. It's in the basement, underground. And then everyone has little windows. So you shout out the window. And then there's 4 floors. So it's called window warriors, yeah? Everyone's shouting and arguing through the windows. Now I'm out there just shouting, fuck you lot, yeah? I said, no one likes you. I said, the truth, this is the truth. No one likes you, yeah?
It's like Speaker's Corner, but in prison.
Everyone comes past my wing whenever I've been in jail, and they all give me the thumbs up, but they can't tell you that because you'll all kill them, yeah?
Right.
No, you're bullies. No one likes you. And as I'm doing that, then I'm steering them, because there's lots of Irish gypsies in jail. So I'm steering them onto the Catholic argument. I said, yeah, well, I'm Catholic, yeah? And they start going, you're a paedophile priest. And I'm waiting, and then I hear all the Irish start going,
and the gypsies.
And then the gypsies are arguing with the Muslims. And I'm just sitting there laying there thinking, fucking this place is about to erupt, yeah? I wish I could watch what happens when the doors open in the morning. And at 5 o'clock in the morning, they come in. I'm thinking, what are they going to do tomorrow? Like, I'm waiting for the morning to come up just to see what happens, because I know the prison's about to erupt. And then at 5 o'clock in the morning, they come in and emergency shipped me out, made me an ACAT, took me to Woodhill.
Which is great.
Well, I was safe.
Safer.
I was safe.
Okay, so these are all crazy stories. I mean, from prison violence to a girl being branded, a nail through her tongue, these grooming gangs of thousands of girls. But thank God, it's 3,000 miles away, and our Muslim population is only 1%. So we don't have any risk of this happening here. So all your stories are irrelevant to Americans, because this could never happen here. And we're hearing about a foreign land.
Yeah.
Far, far away.
You're at 1%.
Woo!
You're at 1%. You had 4 successful terrorist attacks in 2 weeks. 1%. 4 successful terror. Just think of this.
We had 2 bombs in New York City last month.
If you was at 10%, you'd have had 40 attacks. It's just a numbers game. But all of these stories I'll tell you, all of these things from the English Defence League days were, remember, I didn't plan it. At times I didn't take it that seriously. At times I was just a man on a mission, fighting back against the police, fighting back against the system. And then fast forward to where we're at now, and Gav, you know I don't take it seriously. You come over to some events, I was still up with no sleep partying each time, yeah? I think I partied my way through many years because to try and deal with the reality of the outcome that, shit, I'm in trouble here, yeah? And my life's never normal again.
Well, they're not just threatening you. They threaten your kids, they threaten your wife. I talked to your mom for 4 hours once, and she said, because they threatened my children, and we were talking about how this war on children is a sign of mental illness. And it's funny that you're fighting pedophiles, and then you have these liberal Karens who are attacking your kids at school. And these Karens, that when you look into it, they're always getting divorced, or there's some scandal in their lives, and they want to project it on you. But that's a tangent. The fact that their numbers are only at 1%, and we're already seeing so many terrorist attacks. I don't know if you heard about the World Trade Center fell down because 2 planes went into it a few years ago. We had the West Side Highway attack. We had the 2 bombs in New York City. And for some strange reason, outside of Minnesota and Dearborn, they've chosen Texas. Texas seems to be the...
There are 600 Islamic network organizations working actively in Texas. They've gone from 200 mosques to 330 in 5 years. They have focused they're focused on Texas, because if they take Texas, they take the heart and soul of the United States of America. If they can take Texas, they can take America. And if they take America, they've took the world. Yeah, they took
New York. Yeah, the mayor is Muslim. Never forget. Well, never forget for 20 years and then remember.
They've took New York, but if they can do that, and that's why it's so pivotal for us in the UK. That's why me coming here, I felt such a need to come here, because if your government don't wake up, which I'm quite optimistic, coming here, spending time with Keith Self.
I think Rubio got you here. I think what happened was, because you were banned for 10 years because you're a ne'er-do-well.
Well, I illegally entered.
And when you were questioned once, you just ran away and left the airport, which I don't recommend. But your visa went through very smoothly, and I've heard through the grapevine from insiders that Rubio said, push this through, we need this guy here.
I looked at other cases. I'm here on a journalist visa, and I looked at some other journalist cases, pro-terrorist, jihadist sort of journalists from other countries who are all given visas, even though they're parts of terrorist organisations. So I think a journalist visa is easier, and I come as a journalist, and I'm working here as a journalist. But for me, it's so important to come here Because if America has a fierce stand-up now, which when I landed, you had 32 members of Congress joined a anti-Sharia caucus. That's now up to 60. I sat down with Chip Roy. I've sat down and interviewed some of them. I'm doing an event in Dallas with Chip Roy, Keith Self, another senator. I met Tommy Tuberville, other senators who are wide awake. Yeah, and bearing in mind everything that's happened in Britain, we had 30 years of jihad. We had soldiers beheaded. We had 26 children blown up at the Ariana Grande concert. We had shopping centre attacks. We had all these jihadist attacks. And in all that time, not one single MP spoke, not one of our members of parliament. So you're at 1%, but you've got 60 of them who have joined up. I give a presentation to Congress.
That's a white pill right there.
I got invited when I landed here. I went for a meeting. General Flynn took me with Keith Self, who set up the Sharia caucus, and I just sat down and said, let me tell you what they've done in Britain, let me tell you how they've done it, yeah? And let me tell you what you need to stop and how it's happening and what they're going to do and how they use your weapons against you. Because they hit Texas, because they're going to use you, they're using your constitution against you. They're going to use your belief in free speech against you. They're going to use everything against you, yeah? They use democracy to end democracy. That's what they're going to do,
yep.
yeah? So I said, let me sit down. And I spoke to him and he said, would you do a presentation if we get members of Congress there? So I said, of course I would. He said, well, next week. So I kidnapped this American geezer. Where is he, Jared? So my cameraman had just gone home. I'd just worked for 4 weeks, non-stop. My cameraman went home, and I was sat here doing an interview, and there's a cameraman there. I said, what can you do? Can you do... He goes, yeah, I can do that. I said, I need you for next week, yeah? We literally didn't sleep, did we, Jared? We sat, and do you know what I found? Which is I'm doing this presentation in 2 days in Florida University. I sat there and watched through, and what I wanted to do is because most people don't understand Islam or Sharia. I've got to know it now inside out, yeah?
I'm undoing my pants so I won't piss myself.
Yeah, I thought we were up to there, Gav. Eh? So I got to know it inside out, and it's important to know it inside out from start to finish. So what I've done is I've gone through each verse in the Quran where they call for murder, call for war, call for lies. They're not allowed to be friends of us. This is the verse. Muhammad teaches it. They cannot be friends of us. But some people don't want to believe me saying it. So then I looked through American mosques. I couldn't believe what I found, man. Like, I've got Florida, Texas, every state, every single state, they're calling for war, murder, takeover of America. Literally, so what I show in the presentation is, well, the Quran says they cannot be friends with Christians or Jews. They're not allowed to be. And then I just play on screen as the Imam says, you do not be friends with them. You only, if you've converted your old friends, you can only remain friends with them to bring them to Islam. But you have to hold hatred in your heart for them. Yeah?
I have to get one more award for you, but can you just briefly summarize your speech to the government, tell these people why they should be concerned about the Islamification of the West?
Yep, cool. So that's what my speech, do you like his socks? Gavin's got pink socks, pink pinstripe, looking good. But that's what my presentation was to Congress. And I was stressed about it because I don't think we had enough time to prepare it. And then when I went into it was a private meeting with Congress, and I asked to film it. I said, I want to film this. And it was a private conference. We weren't allowed to film it. As soon as yes, sir.
I didn't understand. I didn't understand a word he said. Anybody else? In and out of jail. Unbelievable. Our friend Sarah Carpenter over there arrested in jail too. But she had a rosary and a tambourine. And she did a couple of years, right, Sarah?
For having a rosary.
Unbelievable. So you're so young to me to see years in jail. How does something like that happen?
Each prison sentence I've done I've looked at it and I've been able to get my head around it because they're not long sentences. Remember, some lads on January 6th done 4 years.
Right.
My sentences have all been baby sentences. So I've got 2 years, done a year, got 18 months, done 9 months. So I've been able to get my head around it. This next one, 10 years. Don't know how I get my head around that, but we'll see.
10 years, it goes away real fast, doesn't it, Sarah? In a blink of an eye. No, I'll tell you what, not even 1 day should be. Our country is in a lot of trouble. We see it, and I think the Muslim population is really a problem. My question would be to you, are there good Muslim people?
Yeah, of course. As I said, so look, just being honest, some of the best people I met growing up are Muslim lads. But they're not good because they're Muslim. They're just good men, yeah? And if they followed Islam to the doctrine and the word, they'd become bad men. So Islam's the problem, not individual Muslims, because most Muslims, Winston Churchill said this, individual Muslims will show amazing traits. They show some of them are beautiful people, but Islam has the power to bring Europe back to the Dark Ages. So a good Muslim is one that follows the doctrines and the word of it. So most of the Muslims I know, or someone will say, yeah, but my taxi driver's a lovely bloke. Well, he's not following the literal interpretation of the Quran. If he was, he'd be out joining ISIS. Yeah? So the problem is not individual Muslims, but the problem is Islam. Now, most Muslims treat Islam like a buffet, like I don't like that bit, I do like that bit. But the bits that they don't like and they ignore, like the verses demanding war and infiltration and deception and all these different things that are part of it, they're the problem for us, because that's what they're now using in the United States to deceive and infiltrate the United States in many different groups across America.
My brother stops every morning, gets coffee, and the guys in there are Muslim, and they say they love the country, they love the United States, and they're happy to be over here. Should he be worried about he's being poisoned in his coffee?
100%.
What do you do, number one and number two? Here he is.
They're still working on these awards. They look like shit. They have still buffing them. Yeah, so the moral of the story is that Islam seems uniquely incompatible with the West. And Ezra Levant, who's here tonight, always said that, it's dangerous to ignore Britain because they are a dystopian time machine of where we're going to be in 5 years. You've got, what, 6%? What?
They say 6-7%. Why Ezra's here? Let me just make a point about Ezra. I come out of jail in 2015. I come out of prison. I'd led the English Defence League. I wasn't a journalist in any sort of way. I was an activist on the street. Ezra contacts me and says, I want you to make videos. I said, Ezra, I'm too busy. I'm back at work. I'm making money, yeah? Because
you were flipping homes back then, right?
Yeah, I was flipping homes. I said, I'm back at work. I'm trying to make money. And Ezra said, well, let me just buy you a camera and send you a camera and make a video. I said, oh, fuck. And Ezra was persistent, so he sent this camera. I don't know how to... I'm such a technophobe still now, yeah? I ain't turning on a camera, I ain't working a camera. So he sent all this stuff. And then Ezra carried on and he asked a few more times and I couldn't be bothered. So I said, oh, fuck it, I'll do one just to shut up Ezra. So I'd done a video and I'd done it about Sweden, or I can remember it. I don't know, where is Ezra? Where is Ezra? This was my first... You're there, Ezra. And this was my first ever video.
Jew, by the way.
This was my first ever video. It was about Sweden. And I remember I'd done a video because I retained information, so I just went on a rant about how bad Sweden is with Islam and all, everything that's happening there. And Ezra liked it. And then I went and done an interview with some lads. And because I went and done an interview, and then they were done video and editing, so then they videoed me for the next video. I sent it to Ezra. Ezra said, who done that? I said, just two lads I met. And he said, right, we'll hire them. And then Ezra contacted me. He said, right, you're wasted, yeah? Because I said, I'm going back to work, Ezra. And at this time, honestly, I was tired, man. I thought, I've lost everything. I've been beaten black and blue. I've just come out of prison again. I've managed
What year would this be?
2015. And Ezra said, I want you to work for me full time and I want you to be a journalist, yeah? I said, okay. And he said, how much money do you need to do that? And I thought, it's my passion. But for the last 5 years, I haven't earned no money. When I started the English Defence League, they froze my assets. So they froze everything. But at the start of the English Defence League, I had quite a lot of money in the bank. I was doing really well. My business was smashing it. Yeah? I was doing really well. So they froze everything. They closed my companies. I was starting again when I come out of jail. But I'd managed to keep the 7 properties. So I sold the properties, ready to buy a bit of land and build a house. Ezra offered me a job. So I said, right, give me 60. Yeah? He said, okay, Sam, give you 60. And then Ezra set me off as a journalist. Otherwise, I'd never be a journalist. I would never be a journalist.
I think he saved... I think he saved a lot of lives, but I think he saved a lot of young girls getting raped to the tune of thousands. I think you've saved thousands of young girls from being raped.
And I think we learned pretty quickly that we're pretty good at it. Like Ezra basically said, you need to show everyone what you see. Basically, you need to take the camera, go out and show them what you see. So then we hit the streets with a camera, interviewing people, making quick videos, following the terrorist attacks, showing people the truth about what was going on. And then realised that we were bypassing them and heading straight to this, and people were sitting in their lounges at home. We were talking to them. And And that was the start of my journalist career and making videos. Yeah.
Okay, so
Thank you, Ezra. Cheers, bro.
So last point, we're way over time. We're gonna form a line by the Nutcrackers there if you wanna take a selfie with Tommy after this.
We're doing a Q&A?
Oh yeah, Q&A. I forgot about that. Yeah, we're doing Q&A and then we'll do the selfies by the Nutcrackers.
I got a question. All right, so Tommy, I got a question, and then I'm going to handle the questions from here on out.
May 16th. May 16th, 4 nations, 1 kingdom. The entire globe's media, the alternative media, the independent media, citizen journalists from every country in the world are descending on our capital city on May 16th. Your voice, your message is going worldwide. We've got the world's attention. Now, what comes with that? I'm excited because on September 13th, we laid the foundation for a cultural movement. It's going to grow. It's going to be bigger. It's going to be in central London, and your country needs you. Why am I here now talking about this? Because from the days of the English Defence League, what builds a cultural movement? Music. We had our own songs in the EDL. We had our own identity. That's what we've brought to you with Unite the Kingdom. It's who we are. We're uniting 4 nations, 1 kingdom. That's the name of our new song. We're releasing this song now. I ask you to learn it, share it, spread it. Everywhere I walk before the last event, every street I walk down, we'll see you on September 13th, Tommy. We'll see you on September 13th. Make sure May 16th is etched in everyone's minds, everywhere. Every video you make, every comment you make, every share you do on social media, May 16th. British Revolution is coming. If ever there was a date set, why so far away? Because we want the world there. We want no one having excuses for why they're not there. And when we come, we're not leaving. May 16th, make your plans and love and enjoy this song. On the 16th of May, central London, we unite this country like never seen. 4 nations, 1 kingdom. 1 voice that can't be silenced.
From England's heart to Scotland's hills, from valleys wide to Ulster's will, the drums are sounding, the call is near, for every patriot to gather here. 4 nations, 1 kingdom, together we rise, beneath 1 flag under British skies. We will not bend nor compromise. 4 nations united before your eyes. Our voices thunder, our banners fly. 4 nations, 1 kingdom till we die. Together we rise, beneath 1 flag under British skies. We will not bend nor compromise. 4 nations united before your eyes. Our voices thunder, our banners fly. 4 nations, 1 kingdom till we die. England, stand proud. Scotland, stand tall. Wales, our land, our truth, our song. Together we stand, together we belong.
May 16th, we unite this country like never seen before. Central London, 4 nations, 1 kingdom.